Welcome back, everyone. My name is DM Rhino, and today we're going to do a little how-to guide on how to make a human wizard. Remember, if you like this channel, please hit the like and subscribe. And we're going to have a look at how to make a human wizard, an evocation wizard in D&D Beyond. Let's have a look at how we do this. So, of course, we got our D&D Beyond website up and running. We're going to go to create the character. We're going to go to standard character, nothing crazy, right? Standard character. And then we're going to have a look at our picture. We're going to go over here. Let's create this guy with a pipe. Let's call him Wiz. And we don't want any homebrewed or any expanded or anything like this. We just want the core rules, the basic rule set, that one there. No partnered content, none of this. Milestone is good. Fixed dice is good. Feats multiclass, that's all fine. Show scaled spell levels, very good for newer players. No encumbrance. Coin weight, we can do that. Modifiers top, and we're going to make this guy public. I'll share him in the video. So that's what we picked there. Class, well, we're going all the way down to wizard. Yay! So a wizard uses their intelligence and their wisdom, right? They have a d6 health, which is the lowest of their health. And we're going to have a look here about just clicking add in the class, and we go to our third level. Because a primary stat of a wizard is intelligence, we want to pick skills that are linked to intelligence, right? So we can show more there, and they tell us everything there. But wizard proficiency, let's give him proficiency in Arcana, understanding the magical world, and let's give him proficiency in history. He's a history buff. He knows a lot about history. He's intelligent. We get our spell casting level 1, right? We get to know cantrips, which cantrips are spells that don't cost spell slots. Every spell that you cast may cost a spell slot, but cantrips are the free ones. Every couple of levels you'll get another cantrip, but you start off with a couple because you want to know those cantrips. Yeah, you want to earn those the other spells. So we're gonna look at all the spells that we get, and a couple of the spells that I would pick as a newer player to help players. I would recommend for newer players. I put it that way. But it's important to know that cantrips are free. They don't cost spell slots. You get your spell book, which you can write your spells in. And you can lose your spell book. A DM can destroy your spell book, and you can create a new one. Spell slots and prepared spells. But we're going to get into all of this when we create our character at the end. We're not going to worry about this too much now, right? We're going to go scrolling all the way down. Ritual adept. As we learned about spells, some spells are ritual spells, which means they don't necessarily need to use a spell slot. They're going to take 10 minutes to cast. Now remember, a combat round is about 1 minute. Because each combat round, no, a combat round is like, it's an action is 6 seconds. Combat round is about 1 minute. So yeah, kind of goes like that. So sometimes it's good to have a spell that requires a ritual. That means you can do it out of combat and it doesn't burn a spell slot for when you are in combat. Then, of course, you get arcane recovery. You get a chance to recover the spell slots that you've used, and after a long rest, you get them back. You get to be a scholar, which means you get another skill. So again, what do we going to be expertise in? We got to take Arcana because we want him to be a wizardy wizard. The wizardy wizard that wizardy was. That's what we want. What subclasses are we going to pick? Well, there's a couple for a wizard, right? They are always going to be adding more. They're always going to be changing this. If I would recommend something for a newer player, I would pick Evocation or Evoker, which uses elemental magic. So these create powerful elemental effects, right? And we get to play around with it because most spells use the different elements, so we get to have a bit more fun with elemental damage. Diviner uses divine magic. That's when you roll portents. which you can replace any role with your portent, but you have to remember to roll those every time. Aberration, they will tell us, banish, protect, and harmful effects. Illusion, well, that costs illusions of the mind, right? But as I said, for newer players, I recommend Evoke. Then you get your Evocation Savant, which means you get to pick 2 spells, right? This is why I recommend it. So you pick 2 spells. So what are the first 2 spells we get to pick? As our wizard, wow, there's a lot of them. We don't know what to pick. What can we pick? Well, first of all, we want to either go for our offensive or our defensive. If we can't find a defensive spell, right, or a utility spell, we try to pick a ranged spell and a melee spell, ranged or melee. But I would always recommend picking Magic Missile. It's a great spell. It auto hits. So you don't have to roll to hit. It's automatically going to hit. And it does a 1d4 force damage +1, right? Very few monsters are resistant to force damage, and you can upcast it. Even though this is a level 1 spell, you can cast it at level 2, level 3, what have you. You get more darts, more magic missiles to hit with once you've cast it. Very cool spell to have. Then what other spell would I recommend? Well, let's go down. We've got the ranged spell. Maybe we want someone not to come close to us. Maybe we're like, hey, I don't want to be you guys, I don't want you guys all to surround me. I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to do that. So we are going to go for, there are 2 spells I would recommend, either Shocking Grasp or Thunderwave, but let's pick Shocking Grasp, right? The reason by this is because Shocking Grasp is a touch spell. So you are touching a creature. It's a melee attack spell. It's a D8 lightning damage, and it can't make attacks of opportunity until the start of its next turn. So you could touch this creature, do the damage, walk away, and they can't use attacks of opportunity against you, which is good. Then we've got the Portent Cantrip. So what does this do as an evocation? It basically says your cantrips, even when they miss, do half damage, right? So your cantrips miss with an attack roll, or the target succeeds on a saving throw against the cantrip. The target takes half the cantrip's damage, if any, and no additional effects. So they can't take any additional effects. They still get that damage with the cantrip. So that's the important thing also. They still get that little damage. So that's what I would pick over here for our class. Now we're going to go to our background. Now, of course, we want our background to complement our wizard, right? We want the feats to complement of this. So what would we pick? Well, there's a couple really good ones for the background. We could pick Acolyte. If we wanted to, what are our ability scores? Wisdom, Intelligence, and Charisma. Good. And we get Magic Initiative, of course. We could even pick Sage. Again, I think we get the same ability scores, except this time it's Constitution, but it's Wisdom and Intelligence, which is always good. Or we could pick Scribe. And Scribe, I think, yes, it's Dexterity, Wisdom, and Intelligence. So we spoiled for choice, right? The important thing is to always get that Wisdom and Intelligence. Now, if we pick Dexterity, then we get more AC, right? If we want to but if we pick Sage, we get more health with the Constitution. So it's a bit of this or that. Or we could pick Acolyte if we wanted. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. I would pick Scribe simply because of the Dexterity. We want that higher AC up. Remember, Dexterity equals AC. And we also get Skilled as our feat. So let's go over here to Skilled. And now again, we get to pick different skills we can choose. So let's go down here. All right, let's see. Okay, I want this wizard to have a little bit of insight based on intelligence and wisdom. Let's go to another one. Maybe, well, I've got perception already being a scribe, which is great. Let's go all the way. Well, he's got quite a lot. Let's have him have religion. Okay, that's good. He's kind of intelligent. He's doing this. And what tools is he going to use? Well, maybe he knows alchemy, right? Maybe he's an alchemist. Maybe he knows these things. Really good, right? Now, with the ability score, usually I would do abilities first. But this time, I'm going to pick the ability score ahead of time, right? So I'm going to pick 1, 1, 1. So this time, I already know I've got my dexterity, my intelligence, and my wisdom. That's 1 already. That's always good. Then character details. Well, we're just going to make him neutral because he's neutral. And we're going to give him modest. Let's make him modest. Everything else you can decide as a player. How he looks, notes, everything else is up to you. You get the option all over here. Then, of course, we're going to go to species. Species, we don't want to click on legacy content. We want to keep it normal. And we want to go to human. Let's make him human. Remember, we get that extra feat being a human. And we get skillful again, which is great. So let's make him a normal, medium human. He's got resourceful, gets inspiration. Skillful, let's pick another skill for us. Wow, got quite a few things. So why don't we give him medicine? Let's give him medicine. Let's make him a very intelligent person. He's got versatile, which means we get another feat. Now, this is always the interesting thing. Do we want to give him a magical feat, a magic initiative? Remember, we can give him magic initiative here. We can also give him skilled again. We can give him tough. But let's give him a magic initiative because we want to make him the wizardy wizard that ever was that was. So, there we go. The original feat. You gain 2 cantrips and a level 1 spell. So let's, again, choose our cantrips, right? So we got to base this on intelligence because that's the primary stat we want. Intelligence. Here are our spells. We already got a couple. Let's pick a couple of more. So let's go down here. Okay, so what do we want for our first spell? Let's pick a utilitarian spell, Mage Hand. Really good to use in situations where you want to move an object or manipulate an object. It can't lift more than 10 pounds, but it can open doors. It's a really good utilitarian spell if you want. Very fun spell. The next spell we can pick, another utilitarian spell or utility spell, is Message. Message, you can send a secret message to a creature within range. And it can go through, if you're familiar with the creature or with the target and know it, it goes beyond the barriers of magical silence, 1 foot of stone, metal, or wood, or a thin sheet of lead blocks the spell. Or a thin sheet of lead blocks the spell. So yeah, it's only that, or a thin sheet of lead blocks the spell. So there we go. So it is really good to send secret messages to different people in your party when you have message. Now we get to pick our next spell. No, we got 2 utilities, 2 offensive spells. So maybe we can pick a defensive spell. What's a good defensive spell? Now, there are a couple that we could pick that are really good. Of course, mage armor is good. Shield is good. Sleep is good. There's a couple that we could pick. Let's actually go for shield, right? Why shield for a new player? Well, shield is a reaction. It gives you a +5 to your AC, and it protects you from magic missile. There are spells that are going to protect you from magic missile. Shield is one of them. And it's really good to have that +5 to the AC until the start of your next turn. That's really important, right? Then, of course, we go to languages. What are we going to do for our language? Well, we're going to roll our 2d12s, and we're going to see what language we get. We got a 7 and a 5, which is Giant and Elvish. Okay, so Giant Giant and Elvish. There it is, there. Okay, yeah, you can pick whatever languages you want. You can pick 2, of course, but it's always fun to roll for them. Okay, now we've picked all of our things. Let's go to our abilities. And we've done this many times. We've done array, roll, points, but let's go to points today for our wizard, and let's make them all even Stevens, right? Let's go for 10 around the block there. Makes it that way our wizard isn't in any minus. Doesn't really have a big weakness on anything, but it does help. And remember when we did our background, we did the +1 to dexterity, intelligence, and wisdom, so we can see that they're 11. But we want to create a very intelligent wizard, right? So let's boost that intelligence all the way up to 15, and the total is 16 because we got that +1. Great. Now let's give him or her or them a good dexterity. Let's make our dexterity 13, because then it's 14. Then our AC is high. And let's make our wisdom 11, because then it's 12. And let's boost our constitution to 2, right? Gives us more health. We can also make our wisdom 13. There we go. Okay, good. Wisdom 13, 14. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yes, I like that. Okay. So dexterity and wisdom are 14, intelligence is 16, constitution's 12, 10, 10. Now you can play around with this, of course, and make it a bit higher. The reason I made my strength 10 and con 10 is often we want to break the stereotype of a squishy wizard. Usually wizards aren't strong, but have a wizard at 10 just means that they're kind of balanced now. They're not super strong, but they won't get that minus on their saving throw, which is like some DMs like to exploit if a wizard has that. That's really good. Now we've got everything. Let's go to the equipment. We're just going to pick A on both of these because it's very simple and easy to learn. Parchment is important when we play a wizard because sometimes we want to write a spell or copy a spell. It takes time, but it's cheap enough to buy. But if your DM says, oh, do you have parchment? Then you go, oh yeah, I got it in my starting equipment. So it's really good to have that. Let's add that all to our equipment. We don't wield daggers. We are going to wield our quarterstaff there. Let's go to what's next. Let's just view our character sheet. All right, here we go. There's the Wiz, and our armor class is 12 because of our dex. We've got no minuses on our saving throws, which is very important. And we have expertise in Arcana, and we can see all of these over here. Now, of course, these are our attacks, but we want to look at our spells first. Okay, here are our cantrips. +5 to hit is our spell attack. Our saving throw is 13. These will increase when your intelligence increases, right? And same with your modifier. You can see it's a +3 there. So when your intelligence increases, these tend to increase a lot. And of course, you can see Magic Missile has no to hit, but it does cost a spell level. So if you cast it, it uses that spell slot there. And it did a whopping 1 + 1, which is 2, right? We can click off of that. Okay, so these are the spells that we have when we have built our character. But we need to manage our spells. This is where it can get a bit confusing, right? Let's click on Manage Spells. Add Spells, right? And then we come down here. We can see we've got cantrips, 0 out of 3. Prepared spells, 0 out of 6. So the first thing we're going to go down to is our cantrip over here. And we're going to scroll down. There we can see a lot of these spells over here. These are all our cantrips. But which ones are we going to pick? Which ones are we going to learn? Well, we don't need to learn Mage Hand or Message or Shocking Grasp. So we're cool with that, yeah? Let's learn our Thunderbolt spell. Because it's not Firebolt spell, I should say, not Thunderbolt. Firebolt. There, we've learnt it, and it's added to our cantrip. Blade Ward, really good. And you'll see the little C over here, which means concentration. So some spells require concentration. That when you cast them, you have to concentrate on them. That doesn't mean the next round of combat you can't cast a spell. That just means that you are concentrating on that particular spell. Some spells will specifically say that you can't cast a spell, but most of them won't say that. They'll say, okay, you can cast another spell if you want. When you get damaged, you have to make a concentration check, which is usually you roll a d20, it's a con save, the d20, and it's half of the current spell damage that you took, or half of the damage that you took, right? If it's a 10 and above, you usually pass, or if it's half the damage, more than half the damage that you took, you pass. So for example, let's just say I do a d10 of damage. I've done 10 damage, but my blade ward is up. It's not going to do. My blade ward is up. I have to make a 5 on my concentration check or higher to make sure that I'm still concentrating on that blade ward. If I fail that check, the blade ward drops. But why did I pick blade ward specifically for a new player? Because when a player makes an attack roll against you, before the spell ends, the attacker subtracts. Yeah, it's up there. When a player makes an attack roll against you, before the spell ends, the attacker subtracts a d4 from the attack. So that's the important thing there. It subtracts. So it's like a reverse guidance, right? Really cool for players. Okay, so we get to pick one more cantrip, right? Because we only picked 2 of 3. Let's pick. We've got a fireball. Let's pick another good spell. Maybe just a fun spell like, I think, Silvery Mind. So why? So Mind Sliver, I should say, not Silvery Mind. Why Mind Sliver? Okay, let's have a look. You try to temporarily sliver into the mind of a creature you can see. The target must make an intelligence saving throw of 13 or take 1d6 psychic damage and subtract 1d4 from their next saving throw it makes before the end of their next turn. So this is really good because you can basically cause them to take another d4 minus on their next saving throw. So if you work as a party and you're attacking a big monster, Mind Sliver works really well with that psychic damage. Even if they're immune to psychic damage, they still have to make that save of intelligence, and if they fail, they still minus a 1d4. So that's the important thing. And also remember, it's an intelligence saving throw. We're a wizard. We are going to concentrate on intelligence. So this is the good thing over here. Now we picked our cantrips. Now let's pick our prepared spells. What are we going to prepare? So let's go to I always start with the highest one because when we work down, as you can see, level 2 spells, there's a lot of concentration spells, like especially around here. I wouldn't worry too much about the concentration spells at level 2. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, depending on how you play. Don't worry too much about them, right? Because the spell I would recommend first is Misty Step, right? Because if we learn Misty Step, you can put it up here. You briefly surround yourself with silvery mist. You teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. So it is also a bonus action. Important. Bonus action, Misty Step. Some spells will say bonus action, which means they're not normal spells. You can cast it as a bonus action. Very important there, right? And it's a great spell to have. The next spell I would recommend for newer players, maybe we haven't got a good higher offensive spell, but we can see there's not a lot of them there, right? Except for Cloud of Daggers. Tonal Flame will work also, but Cloud of Daggers is great. And I'll click on Cloud of Daggers here. The reason being, you conjure a spinning daggers in 5-foot cone. Centered on a point, you can see each creature in that area takes 4d4 slashing damage. So again, yeah, they're taking that slashing damage. The creature also takes this damage if he enters the cube or ends their turn on it. If the cube moves, if the cube, if the cube moves into a space, the creature takes this damage only once per. So yes, you can, on later turns, you can take a magic action to teleport the cube up to 30 feet, which is really good. But this is a great spell to stop a lot of people from rushing at you, or if you can see a group of enemies far away, like within 60 feet, you can put a cloud of daggers on them, which does do quite a 4d4. Doesn't sound like a lot, but at a lower level, it is going to be a lot of damage. And it can stop people from coming forward if they see these clouds of daggers, right? But that's the second one. Now, I usually, as a level 3, I'll pick 2 level 2 spells. And then I'll pick some level 1 spells because you can always upcast level 1 spells to level 2 if you wanted to. So let's go here. And now we're going to prepare another one. I will take Grease, which is great spell. Grease is, again, it's a 10-foot cube of grease that most DMs will rule that is flammable. So it basically causes a creature to make a dexterity saving throw, or they are under the prone condition, right? They slip and they fall on the grease. Yeah, and after a while you can actually like light it, and then they're on fire with the grease. So that's a good spell to learn. A good spell would also be either detect magic or comprehend languages. Both are ritual spells. So if we pick detect magic over here, right, we can see you can spend time detecting the presence of magic within 30 feet of yourself. But detect magic is a ritual, which means if you don't want to spend the spell slot, you can spend 10 minutes casting that spell around the area. You can see what type of magic it is. So ritual spells take 10 minutes. You don't want to spend the spell slot. So we've got Grease. Let's take Chromatic Orb, a good offensive spell also. You can pick the different types of damage you want, right? And you can cast it higher. It can leap, so it does, if you roll the same number of, or 2 on the orb, the d8s, the orb leaps to a different person. So it's a great spell to test if a monster is resistant to different types of damage, because you can choose the different types of damage and actually say, hey, we'll throw a chromatic orb fire. Oh, the monster's the DM. Oh, the DM would say the monster is immune to fire damage. You'd be like, okay, I'm going to throw another chromatic orb cold. Just testing out the different resistances there. And we can see it. They're not added yet because we're still learning them. And then we're going to add one more. And one of my let's add Witch Bolt. Oh, also a concentration spell, right? But Witch Bolt is right at the bottom here. There it is. But you beam of crackle energy lances towards a creature, and it takes 2d12 lightning damage on a hit. On each one of your turns, you can take the bonus action and deal a d12 of lightning damage to the target automatically, even if the first attack missed. So this is a great spell to use if you want to continually damage a target and you want to use your bonus action to add that d12 of lightning. Now we've picked, we have to calculate, but we've picked 6, right? We've done this, we've learned these, and we've chosen these. So we're going to close that tab. And we're going to go all the way down to prepared spells. We can actually close this over here, close this here. It's going to be all the way down here to prepared spells. You can't see it because my face is in the way. Okay, there we go. Prepared spells. Now, these are our prepared spells, our cantrips. We don't delete cantrips. We always keep them. You can change and swap cantrips sometimes at a level if your DM allows. Most DMs don't allow you to do that because cantrips are kind of your stable spells that you choose. But we want to go to our spell book, right? And there are all the spells that we've picked. You can see again, 0, 6. So now we're going to learn them in our spell book so we can cast them, right? So we just click learn, click all of these. You can see the number climbs up. Yeah, there we go. We've got our 6 spells prepared, right? And then they'll pop up all over here. There they are, right? Yeah. So as you grow as a wizard, you get to get more prepared spells. There they are. And you can actually delete the spells if you want to change your prepared spells. But remember, you get a number of spells you can prepare per day. It's usually that number at the top. It will say 0, 6 or something like that. And you have to, swap and change spells between battle. That's okay. Completely fine. But you do that on a long rest. You don't do that like during the game or something. You always say, okay, long rest, I'm going to prepare a different spell. But for lower level spells, I don't recommend it unless you really need to. But for these like first levels and second levels, the reason I don't recommend it for new players because you can always upcast these. What do I mean by upcasting? Let's say you have level 1 spells over here. First level, Chromatic Orb, Magic Missile, Witch Bolt. But if you look at your second, you can still cast Witch Bolt. It just does more damage. Same with Chromatic Orb, it does more damage. Magic Missile, you get an extra dot on your Magic Missile, right? So we can see it all over there. So usually I will always pick, or I will recommend for newer wizards, Shield, Grease, Magic Missile. You can swap out Shield for Mage Armor. It's not bad. I just prefer Shield over Mage Armor. I always forget about Mage Armor. So there we go. There's our wizard. And, we've got our inventory, of course. We've got our traits and features. There's all the things we need to know. Arcane Recovery to recover the spell slots after we've expelled them. You can use this once per long rest. We are Evocation. You can see our feats, of course. They're all down here. Special traits. Everything we need to know. Our spells, actions, all these things are all over here for us. So yeah, that's our wizard. You can see he's a bit squishy. He's 17. That's okay. That's why we have a higher AC to help us out for a level 3. But yeah, that's how we make a wizard evoker or evocation wizard, right? Very fun to play wizards. Pretty much the Swiss Army knives of D&D. They're useful in almost every situation, and you get to pick your spells and things like that. But yeah, I hope you liked this video. If you like it, once again, like and subscribe, hit the bell. I try to post a video every day about how-tos and how to do a D&D character on D&D Beyond. And if you want to check out the shorts, I post the shorts almost every day also. So that's where I go through the monster manual. But until next time, have a great day, and I will see you all tomorrow.